Hello everyone, this will be Chapter 3 to The Second Life of the Guardian, written and read by Insect Overlord. This chapter is titled, yes, this is definitely how toddlers act. After scaring his mom by accidentally speaking in a way toddlers shouldn't, Izuku decided to play it safe and not speak at all. He wasn't sure exactly what he said wrong. Maybe too many words? But regardless, he didn't want to speak until he was sure it was expected. That's why, when he was 3 years old, Izuku was confused when his parents brought him to a child specialist. Izuku begrudgingly sat in his dad's lap as he and his parents waited in the waiting room. There was a toy area to his right, and a few other toddlers were playing in it, but Izuku made no move to join them. He was technically 17 years old, and even if he had the body and brain of a 3-year-old, the play area looked nasty and probably had a lot of germs. No, thank you. Don't you want to go play with the toys? Look, they even have an All Might beaded toy. His dad gently prompted him. Izuku was thoroughly confused. His dad hated All Might. He always tried to curb Izuku's interest with the hero, which may or may not have caused him to act more obsessed out of spite. Still, the play area looked gross, so Izuku shook his head. Instead, he used his pudgy hands to grab his dad's much bigger ones and tried to get him to lift his middle finger to flip people off. Before his dad could scold him, the door to the office opened and a nurse came through and called, "Midoriya." Izuku's mom swiftly grabbed her bag with a, "That's us," his dad trailing after her, carrying Izuku. As Izuku and his family waited inside the office, Izuku took note of his surroundings. The room was definitely built with kids in mind. It had light blue walls painted with a mural of ocean animals. The cabinets were a darker blue, adorned with child safety signs about using car seats and not leaving a child unattended on the exam table. Even the exam table itself was clearly made for children. It had a soft pastel pink seashell design. Izuku was knocked out of his musings by a quiet rap at the door, a doctor opening it without waiting for a response. The doctor looked to be middle-aged, with a bald head and glasses. He reminded Izuku of a character from a show he watched in his last life. Eggman? "Ah, you must be the Midoriyas, and you're little Izuku, Izuku hid his head in his dad's shirt. "Sorry, he can be a little shy with adults." His mom apologized. "Don't apologize." Izuku was pretty sure Eggman was a villain in that TV show. It's not a problem," Dr. Eggman said, sitting down in the rolling chair and taking out a clipboard and pen. "Now, you came in because you have concerns about your son's speech, What? Can you tell me what the problem is, exactly?" "Well," his mom spoke up, "he still hasn't said a word, and he's already 3 years old. He should have said at least something by now, right?" Eggman wrote something down. "I see. Have you noticed any other missed milestones, or atypical behavior?" His dad hesitated. "Well, he seemed to be terrified of me from the day he met me up until a few months later when he just stopped. I don't know why. It was like a switch flipped and he suddenly liked me. I don't like you, old man. I'm just playing nice for Mom. We thought it was just the change of suddenly having a second parent. I work abroad in America and wasn't able to get time off until a few months ago. But I'm not really sure." His dad sounded so concerned, Izuku almost felt bad for how he treated him. Almost. He still didn't like the guy. His parents continued to bring up their concerns, but the more they talked, the more confused he got. He was sure it was all normal behavior, right? He was trying to act normal. His mom brought up how he never really played with the other kids, just watched them and did his own thing. How he potty trained himself as soon as he could crawl to a toilet, and cried if he got wet anyways. How he could only sleep with a specific pair of All Might PJs, and would throw a tantrum if they gave him anything else. Okay, maybe Izuku shouldn't throw tantrums over little stuff like that, but the All Might PJs were so soft, and he found he had a much shorter temper as a toddler. And he had to potty train himself. He didn't like to feel wet, and his mom wasn't doing it. When he was Marinette, his mom had used elimination communication to potty train him at 6 months. As for not playing with the other kids, he just didn't want to. Not as Marinette, and not as Izuku. He had never been good at interacting with his peers. Izuku was getting annoyed with his parents' grievances. They kept bringing up things that Izuku was sure were normal. When his parents had talked themselves out, Dr. Eggman looked over his notes. "Based on what you've said, little Izuku here is probably autistic. That's not a bad thing. It just means his brain processes things a bit differently. There's a lot of misinformation about autism, but after Autism Speaks got torn down 50 years ago, things have been better. Based on what you've told me about Izuku, for now, you just need to be patient with him and understanding. Do some research on the subject to see how to best accommodate him. Maybe Dr. Eggman wasn't so bad. That night, Izuku climbed out of his crib while his parents slept and headed to the computer. After 2 hours of research and another one of reflection, he realized Dr. Eggman was probably right. Yeah, a lot of what his parents noticed was just him being a 14-year-old in a 3-year-old's body, but he also remembers struggling a lot with the same things as Marinette. He feels like he has a new understanding of his life. Maybe there is a reason he struggled so much with social interactions. Maybe there's a reason he hated certain textures. Maybe there was a reason some days everything felt like too much, and he felt like screaming and ripping off his skin so he could just not feel anymore. Maybe something good came from that doctor's visit after all. This concludes the 3rd chapter of The Second Life of the Guardian. I know all these chapters are kind of short, but I don't know. I just wrote them like that. I hope you guys enjoyed. I wasn't planning on making him autistic. I just wanted to because he's just like me, for real, for real. Anyways, thank you so much for listening.